Hey, good morning, everyone. Another Tech Talk here. We're really excited today. This is one of my favorite topics. Today, we're going to talk about the application landscape and how digital transformation really is reliant on information, and how important the enterprise application estate is to really empowering the information of the enterprise to come forward into every transaction and process. Today, I'm actually joined by Mike Klaus, who leads our application management and services business at DXC, and furthermore by JP Morgenthal, who is the CTO for that core group, to really talk to us a little bit about what's happening. Like all of our tech talks, what we're going to do is we're actually going to get together here in a basic Google Hangout, and we're going to talk about this domain and what we're seeing happening in the application services and information services domain, and then we're going to move over to another setting, which is crowdchat.net, to allow us to have a interactive social conversation around what's really holding us back in the area of application management, and what are some of the best of breed strategies to help clients really undertake this really a giant transformation. Most of our clients are sitting on top of portfolios of 3,000 to 4,000 legacy applications that they're trying to figure out how to rationalize, at the same time trying to keep their disruptive competitors at bay. This is a big deal because the majority of the investment in a transformation actually goes into these applications in this application space. So having the right strategy and the right partner is critical. So as we jump into this, you'll see, and you can go there now to crowdchat.net/DXC Tech Talk in order to potentially bring questions forward for this audience as we go through the movement. So I've already kind of led us in to what we're going to do and what to expect. I am going to pre-fetch the next Tech Talk, September 28th, around application experiences. But now I'd like to kind of move over to Mike Klaus and ask Mike, what are our clients telling you about the transformation that's necessary within their application services landscape, and what are we doing about it?
Hey, Dan, thank you, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Dan, that's a great question. I mean, I don't want to overemphasize the point, but our clients, every one of them, are under some form of attack from disruptive entrants into the marketplace who don't carry the technology debt that many of our enterprise clients carry today. And what I mean by that is, you think about the fact that in just the retail banking industry, there are over 2,000 new entrants, new startups that carry none of the infrastructure, brick and mortar, and even the investments into legacy applications and systems that they've had to in the past. And these entrants are raising havoc in terms of their ability to address at the edge the customer experience. So in that industry, a very, very illustrative example. We see the same thing with our insurance customers. I was with a client last week. Business was totally disrupted with the emergence of some new edge technology, mobile devices, and the capabilities that they hadn't planned for. They knew about them, but they couldn't afford them. So there's a significant challenge that they face in terms of competition that they haven't seen before, that can be disruptive both on the edge and at their core of their business. So this makes them, they're thinking about, they come to us and they're facing a large agenda relative to transformation. Forbes just published a report that said by 2020, almost 70% of our clients will have at the core of their strategy a digital transformation agenda. And our clients today are really struggling with the pressure of how do I make my business more agile and flexible, and how do I get more information that from my applications today than I don't find today. And some of my applications today don't allow me to, they're broken, as we've talked about. And then what systems need to be developed on the edge? What platforms are required? How do I make sure that I'm secure in these extended environments? If I establish IoT monitoring, we've heard many stories about hacking into autonomous vehicles, hacking into mining facilities that are using IoT capabilities. So security is a big thing that comes with this. And how do I continually develop my applications in an agile framework, as I move towards microservices and APIs and interface with my traditional legacy capabilities and systems along the lines of my new ones? They're struggling with that. we see a reemergence of requirements around testing across all these various channels and across all the levels of development. So really, for us, some really strong plays in the testing areas. Clients have to figure out how they can leverage a consistent testing approach across every market and every channel and through automation capabilities. And then finally, and this is we see from every single one of our clients, the legacy environment is costing them too much. Ran into a client 3 weeks ago, 85% of their IT budget is being spent on the maintenance and the management of legacy systems. Therefore, they can't meet the agenda of their internal customers or their external customers, the marketing guy who wants to extend his platform out to his customers directly or to his channel partners. They can't even find the investment dollars to do that, which is causing havoc in their organization.
Yeah.
So they're challenged across, this entire set of initiatives around this digital agenda, which allows them to have much better experience with their clients. They're formulating strategies. They're trying to understand where I go first, how I understand the capabilities in my current estate, with extending that environment into the marketplace.
Sure.
So when we get to our clients, we start with addressing an understanding of their business needs. I ask every one of my sales OSS leaders, my advisors, to understand exactly what's on the CEO's agenda and what's happening in their marketplace today. And then we extend that into what are the applications capabilities that can support those business outcomes and those business objectives.
Right.
Just as an example, we're doing this for a lot of clients. We just signed our preferred systems integration status with Zurich, and they signed with us because they want to go on this journey with us along this digital roadmap, and we're engaged in many projects with them to enable that in a formulaic manner. So that's just an example of the kind of things we're seeing across, our clients and markets today.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, Mike, I think you're right on. What I see over and over again, and this isn't new for people who've joined me in other crowd chats. There are a number of. So I really do believe that in the modern economy, information is power, because he who has the information has the power. And what we're seeing in the modern business is what I'll call a reintegration and re-centralization of the business to try to bring the information together to derive even more value, not from the individual silos of data that are really represented by application boundaries, but really organizing an information supply chain within the enterprise, which brings all the information together for value and shortens processes, it improves your knowledge of the client, improves the knowledge of the product, improves your service efficiency. Those are the big goals as we're looking to get to enterprise productivity, differentiation, and growth. And so, there's no question that we need to go in the application domain, but what we have to convince our clients to really understand is to begin to take down those application estates around what might be called key business transactions. So I think the business processes that underpin, whether it is lead to cash or in the web, right? Impression to engagement. Or in the case of insurance, right? It's policy to underwritten closed contract. Each one of these is actually a whole set of steps in which information is composed for value, some decision is made, and then is moved through to the next step. And we have to help our clients begin to understand how to really help the applications work together in terms of cooperatively getting to that endpoint, whatever that is for the business.
Think about something as simple as order to cash, Dan, in an omni-channel environment, and what that means today. You used to have one central order management, order processing system as a retailer. To be successful now, you may have 15 channels that you have to get order information into process, and it has to be seamless. And you've got multiple supply chain and inventory systems to manage against that.
Right.
It's an enormous challenge.
4,000 partners behind you because you've gone just in time, where you actually have to transit that order all the way to them to get real-time product availability to destination, so you can actually tell the customer when to expect the package. So I absolutely agree with you. I mean, that kind of supply chain has massive complexity, and the question is, what are the technology bases, right, that we want to begin to employ? What are the successful clients doing, both in the disruptive space, but also now, how do we allow our big clients to use their information, their partnership channels, their multi-channel capabilities to be even more successful because of the information and partners that they have. So I'm going to kind of shift over and talk to JP a little bit around the basis of the application services technology portfolio, right? As the CTO, he's managing a landscape of strategies and technologies and partners to get there. So JP, what are we seeing as our clients are taking on that technology landscape? You know, obviously there's a cultural aspect, there's a technology aspect. Can you explain kind of what you're seeing in that client base?
Absolutely, Dan, and thank you all for joining today. It's very interesting. This morning, the team published my most recent blog on the DXC site, and it's about how your procurement organization can end up impacting your ability to address your digital strategy. And it addresses a lot of the key issues that you guys have hit on from a business perspective, but also in how you deliver technology. There's a really good description in there about Agile software development lifecycle techniques and DevOps, and really why is that important in the digital age? Because it's the way what we've learned is that there are risks, and these risks have been basically impacting our ability to deliver software in the industry on a repeated basis. And so people say, people just throw these terms out, Agile and DevOps, but ultimately for me, they're risk mitigation techniques, right? And the risks that they're mitigating is if I engage in a endeavor, an investment of software development, is it going to be what I need it to be for the business? How am I going to interject higher priority capabilities in the middle of that stream? And how do I get this out to market on a continuous basis? If I'm a business and I find and identify that if I had this software capability or this feature in one of my applications that my salespeople could do an additional $20 million business this quarter, how do I get that in 2 weeks? Right? These are the reasons why we do this, not because it's popular or hot or a buzzword, but because they ultimately need to lead to, the goal, if you will, which is increased revenue, right? But there's other things that are driving this. We talk about these in the white paper, right? It's almost an interesting amalgam of technologies that have come together at a point in time to kind of enable all this. So it's not like what we've done in the past is bad, but we haven't reached the plateau or optimal environment for what we're doing because these things haven't been together in the same place at the same time. Examples are, the ability to quickly and easily deliver public application programming interfaces via, a standards technology like HTTP, HTML, CSS, and JSON, which are all representative of non-technological, based or standards-based approach that works across multiple platforms. We have this concept of how to deliver these in a package called a microservice, which allow us to really focus in on how these things get built, deployed, and how they get wired together, right? And there's tenets to think of microservices like do one thing well. It is the Internet of Things. Let's face it. The emergence of the mobile universe has enabled that at any one point in time, we could have 7 devices on our body, all pointing to the same software or application infrastructure, whether it be text or email or some form of shared communication or application. You might have your cell phone attached, you might have your car attached, you might have your laptop attached, your tablet attached, looking at these same data sources. Think about it. We used to walk into our offices 15, 20 years ago. You sit at your desk, you open your email in your corporate intranet environment, and that was the only access to that data set. Now that data set is amplified or distributed across 6 of your devices simultaneously, all asking for that same information. So the infrastructure behind all this is critical. It's got to be more resilient. It's got to be able to operate at a lower cost. So a lot of that's driving it, which underlying that is the whole virtualization of containers, which has come to bear. Right? So these things all play into each other. We're leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're looking at the data, and we're trying to say, what's going to go wrong? Instead of being in the position of, trying to keep all this up and running, we allow the knowledge and the machines to do that for us now. So we tie that in. Data services, the ability to access public data, your corporate data, bind it together, be able to do analysis on it in seconds against terabytes of data, where before that was a specialized project and any changes to it took 6 months to enact. These things are coming together, and
let's bring it back. Like, I totally agree with your view, right? So, let's give this audience, right? So, how do you think about getting going, right? What's the initial, use case? What's the initial technical basis? If you're a developer out there, what skills do I need to really focus in on, right, to drive this kind of a transformation? So can you just hone it into, the culture? What's that Agile culture? I mean, I'm going to lead the witness here. What's that Agile culture? Right?
It is, right.
So what's the data management and data service strategy? What's the priority on API design, right? Just give me a couple of tidbits on those three.
Sure. And actually, so the end-to-end process, it's design, it's build, it's test, it's deliver, right? That's all got to be organized into a continuous and very rapid delivery capability. I think what drives a lot of it is this fundamental shift to take a concept, deliver the minimal viable product, and that's the bare minimum essentials to make sure that you have a business viability behind what you're building, right? I think polyglot is important today, and what that is it's got to be programming language independent. It's a group of technologies or programming languages that are going to come together to enable this. Yes, we're using JavaScript. Yes, we're using Java. Yes, we're using .NET technologies. And by the way, there could be multiple of these pieces coming together. And the beauty of this infrastructure is we don't care about that. The microservice design makes it easy to maintain that. We can leverage this multiple skilled individuals coming together. But it's about taking that minimal viable product, getting it out, and then iterating that every couple of weeks into what we call the sprints, which is an agile term. And it's a limited time frame in which we're going to take a set of features and we're going to implement those features. And at the end of that sprint, those features are production ready. They become viable. And so you're continually iterating over this new product and making it what relative to the business. And then at any point in time, the business owners can say, hey, on this next sprint, we want these features, which we just learned about. So, the beauty is that it really is bringing the agility, which is hence the term. We're bringing the agility to the business to say, this is what I need, this is what I want, and I have a pathway to get it in there quickly. So it's, we're moving away from specialization. We're moving more to generalization, which is good. And it's becoming more about how are we actually designing and wiring together these capabilities. Yeah. We used to talk about the application as a thing, right? It used to be an EXE or some sort of install. You download it, you run it. It runs only on your computer. I think it's more of an abstract concept now. The application. An application is comprised of all these services. And you can, basically take the same set of services and apply them in different ways to deliver different business capabilities.
Yeah, I actually think we're kind of moving back towards the real model view controller from the OO days, for sure, right? Where the model is the information base, right? The controller is the process semantics and the aggregation at the service boundary, and then there's a new set of experiences, right, that are enabled across that aggregation again through either aggregate APIs or incremental, or native atomic APIs. So I think
the views are, as you said, API. They're the web. They're your mobile phone. Those are the views, right? And they're all basically coming after the same data set through the controller.
Or quite honestly, aggregating other data sets that are provided by partners and others, right? Which is the critical element. The critical thing that we're seeing in the application services space, and I actually think it probably shouldn't be called application services. It should be called information services again, because at the end of the day, what you're really doing is composing information to present it in the right way to the right person at the right time to get the desired outcome, right? And what we're successful clients do, right, is to move in very aggressively to an information services strategy, understand the information, understand what information is necessary in order to make a specific decision, put the APIs together around the information so you can actually get to that information quickly and consistently, and begin to decouple yourself from whatever the underlying technology is that's producing that information in those transactions, and then making those APIs available broadly, democratized, both to employees and clients, so that they can compose with your information to get to the novel use cases that really enable the differentiation of the firm to be unlocked from the large-scale application basis on which they sit.
Well, before we started, there was a great discussion going on in the background that feeds really nicely into this, and it's the whole point of view around the digital transformation and how, as a business, I'm being challenged by these emerging born digital companies, and the ones who are surviving, the large enterprises who are going to be able to compete here going forward, are the ones who are taking their existing brand and their existing historic footprint and all that they know, and they're bringing that to bear using the same tools that these born digital companies are using, and they're competing with them on the same grounds, right? And actually, in that case, the enterprise has a greater history of data to explore about how their customers buy, what their customers buy, and when they couple that with these newborn digital technologies, they have a very significant upside opportunity.
Yeah, I took the liberty of kind of stealing a Wardley map, right, around the value chain for an organization, and I absolutely agree. I think what we're seeing, right, is the application and information is owned by the business and, quite honestly, exploited by the business to deliver the corporate strategy. And underpinning those, and I think you alluded to some of these, there are workload platforms, and the abstraction layer is going up. I think there's a critical word, in this graph, right, which is service as a platform. And what we begin to think about as we begin to think about our application services is that how do the various apps that are in an enterprise actually begin to become composable, act as the platform for the enterprise and become composable upstream in new ways, in very agile ways, in order to help the business unlock the agility, transparency, productivity, and engagement that they're after, right? So, I think the applications can't be more important. I think we've talked about, roughly $3 trillion of legacy custom-built applications in our landscape today. I think, when you begin to think about that kind of scale, it really says, hey, we need to rethink how we deliver these application services generally. And I also believe that we need to find the right partnerships. Companies need to find the right partnerships, and DXC does as well, to help to accelerate those broad sets of changes. So I think it's, for me, it's really very interesting. So I want to get back to one question that was brought up earlier, which was from Aaron Day, and he asked, what is our changing delivery methodology, right? Because as we begin to talk about things like MVC, as we begin to talk about story-based design, test-driven development, API strategies, quite honestly, everyone in the enterprise that we service, right, has to begin to move onto the same page, because otherwise, what happens is, everybody waits for everyone else unless they understand, right, how they're all going to come together to deliver some piece of value. So, JP, I know we've got Carl working on Agile and other elements, but what is the application services team kind of doing to really help to create the modern tool chain, the modern structured approach, and quite honestly, the modern application services culture?
Well, we are driving for us a common platform for internal use around continuous integration, continuous delivery. We call it our DevOps open platform. It's based on many open source technologies. We're looking how to integrate that with some more vendor specific type of technologies, for example, Visual Studio, as an approach versus just purely open standard tools. But the goal is to really provide a consistent way to build, test, deliver, and release software into production. And for us internally, whether we're doing work for customers or we're working on our own internal IP, we're trying to get everybody aligned to understanding how to use that platform. The key importance of that is that it allows us to share resources more effectively across projects. It allows us to, avoid the Conway's Law trap, if you will, so that we're not we don't have this dependency on the same resources, sharing information, doing the same type of work over and over, in which case their output kind of mimics the way they were organized. So we try to avoid that. We're able to move more to self-organized teams, which is an important part of being successful. And those are the type of things, really moving towards a scaled agile framework in the background. That's a big piece of where we're going. And that is a major education. Agile alone is an education for any organization of our size, but getting to a scaled agile framework and getting getting these teams to work under this common banner as multiple projects are being delivered for one client as well as cross clients. Those are the type of things that we're really working on.
That's awesome. So unfortunately, we're reaching the end of our time. We could keep going on applications. I mean, a $3 trillion marketplace basically says, we've got a little bit of work we got to do and a little bit of opportunity. But I'm going to come back to Mike Klaus, really to kind of bring us home around that business opportunity and how DXC is really helping our clients take advantage of the opportunity in front of them. So, Mike,
again, thank you, and yeah, got it. I'll try to summarize quickly here. So one thing I want to make sure that everyone's aware of: we're doing this. The things that JP mentioned, we're doing this with a lot of clients already. And what the scalability of that across our platform is what's going to be key for us. So we have pockets of greatness with a lot of clients. Our ability to scale that across the entire enterprise is what requiring this digital platform that JP mentioned, and that is leveraging the delivery's capabilities in Bionics, which I'm sure you've all heard about. But simply from a practical perspective, the agile development and approach that we're talking about here improves our clients' business operations and time to value. Think about the merger of analytic with business process at the edge, and the ability to drive faster decision making, which really just hits the center of our clients' business outcome requirements, right? When they can make decisions faster, react to the market needs, as we've discussed faster. That's the integration of that platform and those technologies together, and gaining extended real-time insight from the supply chain overseas around the world to make on-time decisions about where I deploy certain apparels because of what's hot in one market with the other one. That insight and information to redirect, my inventory is something that, we've seen a lot of with our customers, but that requires that integrated platform and capabilities to do that. So, when we think about digital, the innovation that fosters is really delivering value to our clients. And frankly, there's some practical things that we've done for many years that we're improving on around our modernization platforms and our capabilities there that allow our clients to reinvest in their future, because we're able to attack their current cost structure through these new platforms and capabilities and allow them to invest in the digital capabilities that they require. I mean, essentially, guys, there are roadmaps that we can bring to you and your team's capabilities, diagnostic tools that help us assess a client's current situation and begin to help integrate, as Dan mentioned, their technology strategy into their business strategy to achieve those outcomes. And we're doing that with many clients today. We've revitalized our portfolio. We're making significant investments in our modernization capabilities, our testing capabilities, and really some of this is just bringing it all together in a scalable capability. So it's driving all towards our clients' business outcome, to their cost structure and their ability to invest in their future.
Yep. So, team effort here for sure. We need the modern platforms to underpin this agile work environment. We need the analytics team to really focus on how do we turn the information supply chain into a knowledge supply chain, And then obviously we need the application basis to make sure that we can, support the regulatory constraints on the use of information, but also bring that information forward for the business for continued innovation disruption. So really excited here. So I want to keep this conversation going, but as always, we're going to kind of take this over to the website, which is crowdchat.net/DXC TechTalk. You can join via LinkedIn, Twitter, or just your web browser, and join in the conversation as we look to continue to reshape this portfolio to better address the needs of our clients, but recognizing, we are engaging on a very, very aggressive path with our clients to help to create the affordability of this transformation through our ability to take on the legacy and to transform it with the client. So we can put an API on that and help them to actually materialize the value from the new portfolio. So really excited by that. I will remind you, please mark your calendars. We are going to be on September 28th, and we're going to be talking with Martin Rizzo and Dragan Rakovic about the information-driven digital business. That's that analytic piece, which is once we have that information supply chain flowing, how do we watch what's flowing across and use other information sources to make the decisions even better for the business? And so that's just a logical follow-on to what we're talking about here, which is unlocking the value of your information for your employees, your clients. So with that, let's go forward into Tech Talk, and I'll see you guys in about a month.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you all.